I'll call the City Council meeting to order, May 1st. Call the roll.
Abby Hansen.
Here.
John Hawkins.
Here.
Here.
Matt McKinney.
Here.
Logan Welch.
Call for motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic that is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty. Sure. Have item 1, petitions, communications and requests. This is the time of the meeting that a citizen may address the council on a matter not on the agenda. Except in case of emergency, the City Council will not take any action at this meeting, but may ask staff to research the matter and have the matter placed on the agenda for a future meeting. Do we have anybody? Come on up to the podium. Have you got something you want to hand out to us?
I can start. Hi, I'm Brian Peterson. Nice to meet you. This is my wife, Megan. We live at 1103 Cayman Drive in Webster City. We're just here to kind of, we just moved here 10 months ago, so we're new. So I don't think I know any of you guys. Thanks for letting us be here and talk. But we're just here to address an issue that we had at our house. I called the city to talk about the issue when it happened and don't feel like I was really heard and was kind of dismissed. So I had to come here and chat with you guys a little bit and just kind of tell us our situation. So we had back in March, the end of March, we had a sewage backup problem in our house, which we chalked up to we're a homeowner, that stinks. Our sewer backed up, let's fix it. But so we had somebody come out and Matthews came out to help us with the issue. And you can see on page 2 there on that picture, they marked a green spot where we thought the issue was. And great, they would have been there for half a day, unplug it, whatever. Well, they dug down in there and it turned out that it was fine. Our PVC was fine, but it was full of debris. So they knew that our PVC wasn't the issue, and that led them to think that possibly the city clay stubbing at the main pipeline that went to the road. So they contacted the city to talk to them about maybe getting a map or some sort of grid to help them find their main stub, which the city couldn't help them do. So as you can kind of see on page 3 there, they had to dig multiple 12 to 13 foot trenches in the yard to try to locate around the utilities. And they were there for about 3 days doing that. And then once they finally found the issue, you can see on page 4, they located the 4-foot stub, the clay stub that comes off the city's line, that it totally disintegrated, which caused the sewage back up into the house for the week without running water, without sewage. And I guess the biggest issue is, and I talked to the guys and I had somebody try to recite me a code when I called the city code or whatever they call it, which is fine. But I just had a hard time believing and stomaching the fact that we live in one of the newer developments in the city. Our house is only 13 years old, and it was just hard to stomach that the city infrastructure is failing at this point. Being this young, with 13-year-old home. I mean, I don't know how old exactly Brewer Creek Estate is, but it's got to be one of the newer developments in the city. So we just had a hard time stomaching the fact that the infrastructure was failing us at that point and then causing such a substantial financial burden. Once they got done, you can kind of see there what it cost them to come make that repair. And Matthews are kind of the one that told me to, you need to go take it up with the city. And otherwise, I probably just, I don't know, I guess I would have put my tail between the legs and paid for it, which there's a lot of families in this town probably could not come up with that kind of money. Most families probably couldn't come up with that kind of money in town. Not saying that I want to, or it's just readily available for me either, but I just have a hard time stomaching that financial burden right there when, I don't know, I feel like the city is at some fault with that infrastructure failing us at this point in time. And then the last page just kind of shows the aftermath after they fixed it. But that's just kind of my piece. We just want to be heard and present our piece and see if there was any backing we could get from the city. And that's kind of it. Unless you have something to add, Meg. So that's kind of it. You guys kind of hang on to those and check them out and if you see fit. I don't think there's questions for me or anything like that, but.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Dixon.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want? Then look into that.
The assessor's map said that the building, the home was constructed, it was sold in 2007.
But it means our infrastructure's what, less than 20 years old, isn't it? Which by rights it shouldn't be.
And it's not the sewer main, it was the service line to the home.
But it is something we put in. It's something that probably shouldn't be failing that soon, isn't it?
It's pretty short.
Yeah, all that was installed prior to the home being built.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we do. We stub a map to the curb.
And I think when when Matthews replaced it, I think they replaced it with PVC instead of the clay. Hopefully.
Do we not?
For a long period of time.
Do we not know where they are? Well, we don't have a proper GIS map for that area.
The remain, not for the laterals, not for the service lines.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, it's 2007. I couldn't tell you how they did it back then.
They actually did find a spot or try telling a spot, but they told them to dig under the driveway. So Matthews chose not to.
I'm glad
That's what they initially told them the stub is under the fence. I try to avoid that. So luckily they didn't dig up the driveway too, I guess. So
Yeah.
that is a positive. No, it's not.
Well, if I guess if you can look into it.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? All right, I have a couple of proclamations. I have the official Tree City USA proclamation, whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for planting trees. And on this day, called Arbor Day, for the first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and world, and trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoils by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And trees are a renewable source of giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, countless other wood products. And trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, I, John Hawkins, Mayor of the City of Webster City, proclaimed Friday, April 28th, 23 as Arbor Day in the City of Webster City, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. And following into that theme, this Webster City community beautification, May and June. Whereas the quality of life in the community is often exemplified by the physical beauty in that community, along with the physical appearance and neighborhoods and businesses, which are examples of pride in the community. And the City of Webster City has set the annual cleanup drop-off event to be held at the Webster City Middle School parking lot on Friday, the June 9th from 12 till 4 and Saturday, June 10th from 8 till noon. We urge all citizens to take advantage of this opportunity and dispose of items that cannot be placed in the regular garbage or be recycled. And the Webster City community, including civil groups, business community and neighbourhood groups, have demonstrated a willingness to work together to enhance the beauty of the city through a variety of endeavours. Now, therefore, it be resolved that that by the Mayor and members of the City Council, that the months of May and June of 2023 be proclaimed as Webster City Community Beautification in the City of Webster City, and that all citizens be encouraged to observe these months as an opportunity to come together as friends and neighbours, and as a community to beautify the city, and through such projects and enhance community pride and quality of life. Okay. So, item 2, minutes, claims, reports and licenses. The following items have been deemed non-controversial routine actions to be approved by the council in a single motion. If a council member or a member of the audience wishes to have an item removed from this list, will be considered on its normal sequence on the agenda. I have A, minutes of April 17. B is a resolution on payroll for period ending April 22nd and paid on April 28th. C is a resolution on bills, approve the fund list. D is the financial reports for February and March. E is a planning and zoning commission minutes for May 10th. We also have recommended approval of issuance of beer and liquor licenses by the Iowa Department of Commerce for the following: Class B retail alcohol license for Dock Stop Incorporated at 407 Close Drive. That's it.
Move to approve collectively.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. General agenda. So a public hearing, I'm well past that. Public hearing, I propose to renew the citywide urban revitalisation plan for residential tax abatement. I'll open the hearing. Are there any written objections?
Receive no written objections.
Are there any oral objections?
No oral
Oh.
objections.
We'll close the hearing.
Well, this is just a request to, for the continuance of the urban revitalization plan for residential tax abatement. So it's 100% tax abatement for 3 years. We're not changing the plan at all, because if we change the plan, we would have to adopt the state plan. But I do want to note that this, again, is just the plan that we're adopting, and the attachments that are within the plan will be updated as they are obtained and are prepared. So this went to planning and zoning on April 10th, excuse me, and their recommendation is to approve the plan for another 3 years.
Call for resolution adopting the continuance of the urban revitalisation plan for residential tax abatement.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Down to C, isn't it?
Yes, because that's.
Motion to accept the Iowa Economic Development Authority Downtown Assessment Report. Evening, Betty.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This item before you does have a presentation attached to it. I think Daniel's pulling that up right now. But basically, I'm going to go over the observations and the findings and recommendations that the Iowa Economic Development Authority had regarding our downtown. This was a partnership between the Webster City Area Chamber of Commerce, our SMID group, and the city. So back in October, I don't know if you guys remember, the chamber approached us about contributing financially towards this plan. You guys authorized that contribution, so we did contribute $800 towards this assessment. Chamber and SMID are both here as well. So when I'm done with my presentation, I'm going to give them the opportunity to speak with you guys as well about the findings. Next slide, please. So the way this process went is we had 4 downtown development professionals that came. And then they did a pre-visit survey. We did have 80 participants as part of that survey. They did a driving tour of the city, and they also did a walking tour of the downtown commercial district. And then while they were here February 7th through the 9th. They interviewed about 100 community leaders, individuals, different groups from both the public and the private sector. I think they interviewed some of us as well. So based on everything that they did, this was their observation. And then I'll go over the recommendations. Next slide. So the observations, they did identify that the business mix provided for most of the community needs. There is strong manufacturing base and employment that brings about 1,100 plus jobs to the community. People who grew up in the area are starting to come back and taking over the local businesses or starting new ones. So they noted that as a positive. Several local businesses are destination businesses, bringing customers into the community. Next slide. They did note that we do have Highway 17 and Highway 20, and that provides for strong traffic numbers and exposure for the community. The community does have outstanding public facilities, including the library and Fuller Hall, which were donated by local benefactors to the community. The community is surrounded by outstanding outdoor recreation opportunities. New housing developments have been created and the building lots are available. Next slide. They noted we have a good wayfinding signage program in place. We have good local public arts and cultural programs. Some businesses are occupying prime commercial spaces, but are rarely open to the public. They did note we have some deferred building maintenance that exists in the downtown. Inappropriate renovations to buildings are affecting the structural integrity of several properties, and some have collapsed due to that issue. I think an example of that would be some of the metal siding that's been going up on brick. There's no high quality move-in ready retail spaces available in the downtown. The labor force shortages are making it difficult for local businesses to fill their vacant positions. That was another common theme. Communication between key stakeholders interested in community development efforts needs to be improved and shared on a more consistent basis. Affordable housing is an area that is community-wide and is contributing to labor force issues with major employers in the community. The changing volunteer base as past volunteers age and people move in out of the community. So some of the recommendations they provided, they were broken down into 5 categories: building maintenance, downtown enhancements, communication and collaboration, public outreach, and implementation. So I'm going to go over the first category first, which was the building maintenance recommendations. Some of the things they noted was the regulation of our snow removal ordinance and the sidewalks. They did recommend that we develop a building inventory of the downtown, and that we establish a building, a zone, or code official for Webster City and enforce the building and property maintenance codes, and then also review our existing zoning codes. So just to touch on some of these, our police department does enforce the snow removal ordinance, and they'll continue to do that. SMID began to do a building inventory recently, so that's something that we can partner chamber citywide to get that completed. We do currently not have a dedicated person to code enforcement that does all of it, and that's all they do, but it is a partnered approach between our building inspector and the police department. They do have other duties besides the enforcement, so that's not something we have somebody dedicated to 100% of the time, but it is something we work at. And then our new community development director, she's been reviewing our existing zoning code, and she just makes recommendations as she's gone along. Some of the other recommendations they had was to implement some design guidelines for the downtown. That is something that SMID has already discussed with its members, and it seems to be something that they were interested in. So they'll be working with our community development director to try to push that forward. They recommended we establish a vacant building registry ordinance, apply for community catalyst grants, which you guys have done in the past. We currently have one open for the Elks building. So that's something that's ongoing. I have reached out to IEDA. They've said that we can have more than one. So depending on council's appetite in the future, you guys can apply for more. Continue the local funded grants. Currently, the chamber has a design grant that they offer to their members. So just continuing those. Ariel's been reaching out to USDA and different entities to see what other opportunities are available that maybe we can put together as a resource for the downtown. They've also mentioned to engage the second story of buildings and establish economic development agreements for developers and the current owners of the downtown buildings. They recommended that we create a development team. Some of the recommended members are listed up there. The chamber has had some people step up, consisting of a banker, a librarian, a contractor, a chamber board member, and some local volunteers. They've already stepped up to kind of form that initial group. And then the list of local trades talent, we currently have a list of contractors that we provide to anybody who comes in and says, I need this work done, who should I call? So the city already provides a list of local contractors. Next subject is the downtown enhancement recommendations. They did know that we should complete the mural that was started downtown. I have been in contact with SMIT and they are pursuing some other funding opportunities to finish up that mural that they have in the downtown. Create a task force to review top projects and present a timeline to city council. Consider adopting guiding principles to help aid future planning and implementation efforts. And then review the current sign ordinance to allow for blade signage. So that's something that was already done. We do have a sign ordinance that allows it. There are parameters to it, but it is a permitted use. Some of the other issues they recommended we address was the business succession needs, improve parking areas, look for areas where you can create pass-throughs that allow shoppers to access the Second Street businesses, and repurpose some of the vacant lots. So currently the chamber has scheduled a meeting with Goldman Sachs 10K small business program and the local business owners. They've posted IEDEA resources on their website and they've shared information about employee ownership conferences from Advance Iowa. So the chamber does do some really active work on getting some of that succession planning in place for our existing members of the community. Next subject is communication and collaboration. They recommended that we stay up to date on community news through local newspaper, radio, and newsletters. All three of those channels do a great job of keeping up to date with what's going on in the community. Attend a city council meeting to learn or talk about an issue. And tonight we have the chamber and we have Smith here. At our last meeting, we had a county supervisor, so I think that those are starting to move forward. Consider having the chamber host quarterly community coffee gatherings. The chamber currently hosts a monthly coffee gathering, so they do this on a monthly basis. So that's already in place. It would just be a matter of having more consistent presence at the coffees. Regular newsletter or email blast updating what city and chamber and SMIT are working on. The chamber currently does produce a newsletter on a weekly basis to those who are subscribed. And that actually provides a lot of information on the three entities and what's going on throughout the community. Work to increase awareness of what the downtown district encompasses and what the role of SMIT plays. SMIT actually just recently had a meeting and they had a pretty good turnout. Our community development director did participate in that meeting. So we are working toward establishing better communication. Distribute community survey to see what goods and services residents wish they could purchase in town. Work with the Downtown Resource Center or ISU Extension on an updated economic profile. Ariel's already made those connections, so as we move forward, we'll continue to take this into account. Next slide, consider a coordinated and consistent effort to extend shopping hours to better serve working residents. There was some communication from the community that the businesses aren't always open after hours, so that was put in here as a recommendation. Businesses should look at their peak hours to see if they could open later and stay open later to better serve customers. Coordinate ways for community events to better benefit businesses and explore partnerships to ease the burden off of one individual or one organization, and establish regular joint entity board meetings using the chamber or other third parties to facilitate. Other recommendations on communication included setting up a city, county, school, and chamber board liaison positions to sit in on each other's meetings and provide brief updates. We do currently have a Hamilton County Administrators meeting on a monthly basis where we all kind of update each other. So that's happening. Working with the local newspaper to set up a weekly column the city on a monthly basis has a city scene article that we participate in, so it's not weekly, but we're doing something on a monthly basis. Working with local radio to do community chats. I think Pat Powers does a good job of doing things like that. Encourage different entities to submit letters to the editor, thanking volunteers or supporters for projects. This was something they did talk about, is just being more positive about tooting our own horns and appreciating our volunteers that are out in the community. And then creating a Hamilton County calendar. Currently, the chamber does have a calendar on their website that is pretty robust. So any entity can go on there and post their events. Next slide would be to create a quick facts brochure about Webster City history and notable nuggets about the community. Hamilton County Development has put together different brochures that we have out here. And those are all talking about different aspects of history throughout the county. Some of them pertain to Webster City, so I think some of those have already been put together. Make sure the community promotional materials are at every restaurant, convenience store, and at Briggs Woods. Offer a hospitality workshop for businesses and visits by the chamber representatives to hotels, restaurants, or convenience stores, and let them know where to direct visitors. Some other recommendations were just related to advertising in local newspaper, posting community history talks at the library or the museums, integrating the history and the community tours into the school curriculum, and then creating a historic preservation commission to preserve and promote awareness of the community's history. So I think in these, the Mulberry Center Church does do a great job of hosting those community chats on history talks. And then I believe there is an annual field trip to the Wilson Brewer Park that the students take. So some of those things are happening. Some of the other things they recommended were related to our branding. So just establishing that consensus on a community identity and the brand and making sure that everyone knows what it is. And clarifying what opportunity awaits means. And if your slogan, if that's our slogan, then use it prominently everywhere. Use that brand everywhere you can to make it recognizable in promoting the city, and add a quick glance description of why Webster City is special and worth visiting to the city and chamber websites. They also noted that we should consider promotional signage right after getting off Highway 20 to attract visitors downtown. Making sure that our businesses are cross-promoting one another and the community attractions. And consider promotional signage and billboards along Highway 20 before you get to the Webster City exit. And utilize Travel Iowa website and regional tourism magazines. So currently the Chamber of Commerce is working on getting more information on Utilize Travel Iowa, and they've been meeting with representatives to better leverage that resource. Other recommendations on public outreach were regional advertising, keeping Facebook and websites current, creating QR codes and signage to place on trailheads, and then rack cars that list findings and shopping opportunities in the community. So the chamber currently does send out press releases fairly often to local press and email listings within 50 miles of Webster City. So they're currently doing that. And then the city does actively update social media and website. Other recommendations on public outreach, which seem to be one of the bigger, heavier hit ones, was create a policy to allow for organic street entertainment within parameters that both the residents and the guests can enjoy. Identify street performance and/or areas and clearly mark them to encourage use. And reach out to local artisans to create window displays that showcase local art that is created in the Webster City area. The city council does do a good job of approving any street closure requests for community events when they come to you. So I think that would be a win on the policy portion. Other recommendations in the same area were to pair retailers with vacant storefront property owners to create window displays to showcase the downtown offerings, and creating a pop-up shop retail opportunity in some of those vacant spaces for the holidays. Working with commercial retailers to host building tours so that people can get inside those vacant buildings and see what the potential is. And then using survey data to design and install signage in vacant storefronts to target business types that survey respondents identified as missing from the downtown. So implementation phase, they're recommending that there be quarterly updates regarding what initiatives have been achieved in this report, celebrating your wins. So it's kind of when I went through and outlined what is already going on or is in the progress of going on, and then continuing to tell the story. So what is our story? We need to continue to tell it and prioritizing some of these goals and getting to work. This is a quote from the Chamber Board President. The recommendations of the downtown assessment ties into the strategic plan the Chamber developed earlier this year. I am in full support of adopting the downtown assessment. So we thank the Chamber and SMID for their participation in this assessment. And then the next 3 slides are just the charts that they put at the end of the assessment that kind of gave us a timeline. Like these are the priorities from 0 to 6 months. The next ones would be 0 to 12. And then the long-term priorities that would happen in the next 2 years. But I will go ahead and hand it over to Chamber or SMID if they wanted to add anything to what I just presented to you. Feel free to take the phone.
Hi, everybody. My name's Greg Littlejohn. I'm your newest Farm Bureau agent. I've been here for just a little bit over 3 years. I had no idea opportunity awaits is the slogan. However, that is very fitting as I'm sitting here and listening to that because I could have started my business anywhere. Insurance, you can sell that from anywhere. You have the computer, you're ready to go. I chose Webster City, over my hometown of Clarion of 25 years. The reason I did that is because of the spirit and everything that goes on here. I can tell you from the outside looking in, Clarion had the same downtown assessment done while I was a retailer. I had the grocery store in Clarion for over 20 years. What I can tell you is they did absolutely nothing with it. And I think Zach can agree that Clarion is struggling mightily because of it. Their downtown business is in decay. By all rights, Webster City should have went away when Electrolux and Frigidaire said goodbye. But a credit to everyone here is the fact that it didn't, because there is a spirit here that says, no, we're going to continue on. We're going to soldier on. We're going to get better from here. You can knock us down, but you can't knock us out. So I want to be part of that. That's why my business is here. Being able to use part of that grant money, was able to refurbish a building that I bought at 54 years old. Most people aren't looking to buy a downtown business and start something new. Because the opportunity that I see here, that's why I did that. So I believe in this. I also believe in keeping your downtown looking nice. So I've done that. I've got skin in the game, I guess, is what I'm saying. I would encourage others to do the same. I would encourage you to adopt this just due to the fact that, man, my wife and I, we love it here. We come down, repeatedly. I'm here every day out of the week. But we're in the process of looking for some place to be down here. Just due to the fact of what we see here. Opportunity waits again, a lot of people will see that as they come. So I encourage you to adopt this and help us out. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
First of all, I just want to thank Greg for that very powerful personal testimony. So thank you for sharing why you appreciate Webster City, and thank you, council, very much for hearing the assessment findings and for preparing that presentation as well. I really won't take any more time. I just wanted to share, I thought it was important for council to see a collective recap of the community feedback that was collected from the 80 surveys and the 100 interviews. So I have that to share. And then I also have some specific information that was shared in the full assessment report about, what it is costing us to have vacancy downtown or underutilized property. So I'll go ahead and pass that out. And if you have any questions. happy to answer any.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody else. We'll have to keep going forward with it, keep doing meetings. Guess we get our quarterly updates. So we need, yeah. Where have we go to? So I need a motion to accept the Iowa Economic Development Authority Downtown Assessment Report.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item D is a resolution authorising the mayor to sign and execute agreement number 1 to development agreement number 21 CTBF 025 with Lift WC for a Catalyst grant extension and authorising the assistant city manager to request a Catalyst grant extension from the Iowa Economic Development Authority.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So back in September of 2021, the council did enter into a development agreement with IEDA and Lyft Webster City. So the grant is directly with the city, and then the city Lyft is the recipient of the grant funds. But Lyft does require an additional some additional time to complete their project. We met with IEDA representative, and he indicated that they could provide a 1-year extension through June 30th of next year. So I wanted to get ahead of it and get the agreement between the city and Webster City Lyft amended to grant that extension, and then also request that you guys authorize me to submit a formal extension request to IEDA for the Catalyst grant. And then just an update, I did submit a formal 60% drawdown claim on behalf of Lyft last week. So they have already submitted a request for $60,000 drawdown. They just need additional time to get to that 100%.
Oh, I'm not going to vote on it because I'm on the board, so I'll abstain. Call for motion.
Moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item E is a motion to set a time and place for a public hearing to amend the fiscal year 23 budget for May 15th at 6:05 PM. Good evening, Daddy.
So, public hearing does need to be held to amend the budget. And, so we have the departments go through all of their expenditures and tell us, Emily and I, how much they think they're gonna spend for the remaining year. And, we go through the categories to see if we think amendments need to be made. So I do have quite a few because I would rather amend and not need it than the other way around. I get a finding on the audit if amendment was needed, but we did not do so. So I've tried to explain each one of them, but feel free to email me or call before the public hearing next meeting.
Okay. Call for motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Jody. Item F is a resolution providing for notice of hearing on proposed plan specifications, proposed form of contract, estimate of costs for construction of the 2023 water main repair project for June 19th at 6:05 PM.
Good evening, council. We're proposing the plans and specs for contract and estimate of cost for the 2023 water main repair project. The majority of our fire hydrants that we are replacing are Iowa fire hydrants that were installed in the mid to early seventies. These fire hydrants are getting it to be at the end of their lifespan. The one thing about Iowa fire hydrants is that it's very difficult to find replacement parts. Currently, when we have a project such as Lincoln Drive, we're putting in a new water main, those fire hydrants are getting replaced. They will bring them fire hydrants to our shop and we will use those parts in case we have a fire hydrant that needs work. We will use those parts to fix those hydrants. When it comes to the valves on the list that we have here to get replaced, we do have quite a few of those. Some of them you'll see is on Superior Street. The reason why them are important is because we do have panel replacement coming up in the future for the budget for panel replacement of concrete. It's important to get that infrastructure repairs made prior to addressing the street surface. So, and one of the ways we find out a lot of this about this infrastructure that needs to be worked on is sometimes through water main breaks or something, you're using a valve or something doesn't work. But we do yearly spring and fall fire hydrant flushing where we get our hands on all the fire hydrants. And then twice a year, we will do valve exercising where we will get on 100 to 150 valves. So it's pretty typical when we have so many and they get so old. There's a hydraulic. So sometimes they will snap. They're just old. So we do the best we can, but it's just constantly kind of fixing that old infrastructure. So.
Okay. Call for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Brenda. Item G is a council memorandum request map for Hamilton County Fairgrounds, Hamilton County Exposition to close streets for the Fair Parade and staging thereof on July 25th. Parade route is as follows and will begin at approximately 6 p.m. Prospect to Second, Superior, and then turning east on Bank and proceeding to the fairgrounds.
Same
Pretty
as.
same.
Yeah.
Same as everything.
Make it.
And I seconded.
All those in favour say aye. Okay. Zach.
Pretty exciting stuff for you guys this month.
Yeah.
Automatic trap cameras, we, as you guys have already approved the master service agreements, we finalized that with Cincy Gatso, and then Beanster and Kim also provided an agreement to the city regarding the plan review, the ability to do plan reviews for the city along with building inspections as needed. We went ahead and went through that agreement and provided our comments, or my comments, I guess, and requested revisions, and then Brandon and I have been working on a reliability waiver related to the street department continuing to do locates for private owners for their water and sewer laterals. With trying to limit the city's liability as it relates to mislocating of a lateral, or just are we going to continue to do it or not? And if we are, I want to make sure we're protecting ourselves from liability in that sense the best we can. So that was that. Exciting.
Okay. Thanks, Zach. Closed session, closed session for the purpose of holding a strategy meeting in connection with collective bargaining with the police department unit as authorized in chapters 20.17 and 21.5 of the Iowa Code.
The motion to go in closed session.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll have a 5-minute recess. Thanks, everybody.
Oh.
We're done. You boys need anything signed or anything?
You get a picture, don't you? Yeah.
Or a picture or whatever it is you wanted to. Some of these guys were taking pictures.
There, give me your phone. Cameron, you guys can go up there and stand behind.